What the? What? I thought this was supposed to be a game where we played as the bad guys. Thank you guys so much for all the suggestions, by the way, but because there were so many, I kind of had to pick and choose. I think we'll get to all of them eventually at some point. However, today we're going to be checking out Tyranny because, well, it sounded interesting. Plus, I mean, in the description here it says evil can be fun, and that sounds pretty enticing. I've always wanted to play a game where you as the main character are the villain, but I've always been pretty bad at it, so maybe there's a game out there that can teach me to be evil. We'll see. But of course, you guys know the drill. This is a reaction video. Please do go and support Mandalore and the OG video. Link to that is at the very top of the description, as always. Oh, and quick note, I know I've said this in a few Mandalore reactions, but it has been a while. I saw quite a few suggestions for I Divine Cybermancy. However, I will not be checking out that game review because I will be streaming that at some point. I do have the game in my Steam library and I do plan to stream it.
For over 400 years, the armies of Kairos the Overlord have swept across the known world.
The Fire Nation attacked.
Them fell before their might. Even the Archons, women and men of immense power, were forced to kneel, chained to the Overlord's will. Now Kairos' final conquest has come to our corner of the world.
And you are with the invaders.
Oh. Heck yeah! I was gonna say that intro reminded me a lot of Unicorn Overlord, but yeah, no. This time we get to be the baddies. That's awesome.
Tyranny is an Obsidian CRPG with a twist. Instead of saving the world from...
Oh, it's made by Obsidian. Okay. No wonder why you guys recommended it. Every single game from Obsidian that I played so far has been phenomenal. Like, I can't recommend Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 enough. Fallout New Vegas is really damn good. Probably a ton of other RPGs out there that they made that I do not know of. But the writing that they have is just so... what's the best way to explain this? It's like, they know that you're not stupid. There's a lot more nuance to the writing that a lot of stories nowadays, we don't really get to see that kind of level of writing. So it's just really refreshing to see. And I'm glad that there are games out there with really good writing in them.
The villain has basically already won. The final holdout in the world has just been conquered. The Overlord sent in 2 rival armies to do the job. They did win, but it was messy, to the point where a rebellion broke out shortly after. So Tunon, the Archon of Justice and King Baldwin IV cosplayer, has sent you in to try and settle things out. As a Fatebinder, you're Fantasy Judge Dredd. Your job is both to crush dissent and mediate cases according to the Overlord's law.
Being Fantasy Judge Dredd sounds amazing. I loved the Judge Dredd movie. However, I know that it was a box office flop, so we will likely not be getting any sequels anytime soon. But if you haven't seen that movie, I do recommend it. It's not like a masterpiece of cinema, but it's really damn fun. The guy who plays as Judge Dredd in the movie, damn it, I can't recall his name right now, but he does a phenomenal job. And best of all, there wasn't any stupid scene where Judge Dredd had to take off his helmet or anything like that in order to emote or show the actor's face, because that sort of thing just wouldn't really fit with the character. So I appreciate the movie for sticking to it.
Which can have a few different interpretations. Or you could outright abuse your power. Things can play out very differently, whether it's mastering legalese or being comically evil. So there will be a lot to talk about in that regard. It's also worth mentioning that Tyranny plays a lot like Pillars of Eternity. I haven't done a video on that one.
Ooh, Pillars of Eternity. I also have that game in Steam. I should play that someday. Although granted, I should also play Pathfinder, and I should also play Rogue Trader, and yeah, you could see the thousands upon thousands of hours of games that I have to get through. It's kind of insane. Maybe 10 years from now, I'll definitely get to the game.
Yet, so I'll try to keep comparisons to a minimum, but if you have played it, you may see a lot that's familiar. At least mechanics-wise, because yeah, Pillars does look a lot better graphically. That seems like a good place to start. Unlike a lot of fantasy CRPGs, which are set in a quasi-medieval kind of thing, Tyranny's world is set in an early Iron Age, so all the armor and weapons draw more from that ancient period, for the most part. Only the Overlord's empire has really figured out how to manufacture with iron. The rebelling forces are stuck with bronze. Iron isn't much harder than bronze, but if you know what you're doing, it's a hell of a lot easier to make, because you only need to find iron instead of copper and tin. The bad
I'm not a history buff, but this certainly seems like one of the turning points in history where if you didn't know how to work the metal, then you basically lost. I don't think it would be as drastic as like not having nuclear weapons, but the advancement of technology is an integral part to war itself.
guys aren't just wearing big black armor because it's cool, it's economics. There are lots of details like that, and it's nice to have a game like this set in this period. There are some fantastical locations to explore which would make any DM happy, and from time to time you do get some truly striking imagery. Sadly, you don't get a ton of the really unique stuff, and the game does fall into familiar trappings. You've still got your castles and your ruins made by the mysterious ancient ones, but the art direction is always well done, so I don't have much to pick at there. Everything revolving around combat looks great. The animation is fluid and magic effects especially look good. It's high particle chaos and reinforces that magic is damn scary. It's like the users are barely controlling it. That's reinforced by enemy mages exploding sometimes. This is some
This is like some psyker level stuff in 40k. You can use the power, but that doesn't mean that you have full control over it. I actually really like this interpretation though. Magic being like this all-powerful force that you can tap into, but you're not necessarily strong enough to bend it to your will. Although we may meet a character, or there are like a group of characters here in the game that can control magic, and those people would be really damn scary.
brutal magic. Definitely worth leaving gore effects on for. This is some visually satisfying combat. There were a few times when the animation would freak out, but it was only a visual bug, didn't interrupt an attack or anything. What I especially like in the game is the 2D art. It's colorful and stylish, and I almost want to get some prints. I wish it was used more often, and it does lead into the one thing I really don't like about the visuals. In most games like this, if someone is talking, they'll have like a little 2D portrait of their face. If it's really fancy, there might even be different portraits for different emotions. Tyranny has 3D posable models. The good news is you can implement this for virtually every character pretty easily. The bad news is, it can look silly. And what would that make?
Yeah. There's a lot of advantages and disadvantages, but ultimately I would prefer 2D. If any of you guys know about the Zeroscape series, I think it was pretty controversial change when they swapped to the 3D models in Virtue's Last Reward, as opposed to the first game, 999, having the full 2D art, which I thought looked amazing. But I guess, despite how some jankiness was still in Virtue's Last Reward, at least it wasn't Zero Time Dilemma. That game, you know, we're just glad that it exists.
Make me a skeleton, a shadow. Ayya, my friends are dead. Facepalm. It can be distracting enough to pull me out of what's happening. It's like I'm watching a rant Sona zoning some cartoons. Good God, I don't want to be thinking about that now. It's not a huge deal, I just don't like it. Regular portraits are fine. Everything else graphically, the lighting, the models, the textures, they're fine too. The backgrounds are rich, and it's not the peak of the genre, but it's a good-looking game. Moving on to the sound, the music also has some classic inspiration to it. There are some undertones that I can only describe as like a dark triumph.
How do you create the OST for a game where you're playing as the baddies? Dark Triumph would be a good way to explain it. Like, I mean, you're supposed to be on the side of the protagonist, or, you're following the protagonist story from the baddie side, so...
This also extends into the combat music. It's a soundtrack to commit war crimes too, with some sounding straight out of a slasher film.
Exactly. Didn't want to say it, but there you go. Yeah, I can see this being in, like, Scream.
Damn thing couldn't pierce cloth.
Can't do it. Right. Will do. I'm not built for this sort of violence.
I'm not built for this sort of violence.
It's exactly what I'd want, and I especially do like the main theme. As you've also heard, the combat soundscape is good, and you can adjust the amount of voice callouts. Speaking of that, this game has some pristine voice acting. When it's paired with the strong writing moments, everything is elevated.
You call yourselves officers of Kairos' army, but your conduct falls short of my expectations. The court finds your accounts of Vendrian's well lacking, rife with misdirection and fallacy, fouled with baseless accusation.
Brother. The voice acting is so damn good, but yeah, I see why that's a complaint from Mandalore, because that is so funny. Alright, granted, Obsidian always has really good voice acting. KOTOR 2, Fallout New Vegas, although granted, there were some characters in Fallout New Vegas where I was like, But the only reason why they were so noticeable is because everybody else was phenomenal. Also, I wonder if the whole 3D portrait thing was done because of a budget cut, and so this was like the next best thing they could do. 2D art looks phenomenal, but it also costs a lot, so I can understand it if that's the case. And I feel like Obsidian as a studio, more often than not, gets screwed over by publishers. Like, what's going on? I think they really deserve to have more time and more money to put into these games and their development, but I guess that's not how the game industry works.
We could have been magnificent together. But instead, we will have your bones fashioned into a scepter, your skin knotted into a belt, and your tongue fed to crows.
Lovely.
At least crows know the meaning of respect and gratitude.
It's all solid work. Strong presentation for a CRPG, which means now I can finally play the game with character creation. There is a twist to it this time around. Okay, so the appearance options are pretty limited. That's kind of a shock, especially after Pillars of Eternity. But whatever, it all kind of looks like Fortnite Man. That doesn't matter because you play the game looking down from a lighthouse. The real big choice is what portrait to use. If you pay $4, you get 20 more. Aha. Open MS Paint and follow the on-screen instructions. Now you can put in whatever you want for free. You're not...
Yeah, there you go. I was like, I feel like these type of games you could just go into the files and put in your own PNG. But $4 for more portraits? Like, what? Also, since Mandalore mentions Pillars of Eternity, does that mean PoE was made by Obsidian as well? I just know of the game, and I know several members in the Discord who have played it and can vouch for how good the game is, but I don't know any of the history behind it.
Getting me this time, Paradox? Well, actually, I already bought this game in a set, so I was done for. From here you pick your background, your starting skills, everything you'd expect. Not to mention you can also pick out a banner and some colors. You might think the only thing that truly matters here is the skills you get, which, yeah, it is significant. But what came as a surprise to me is how important your background is. Depending on your playstyle, this can come up a lot. I'm used to the background meaning a few skill points and maybe 2 or 3 times when it comes up. Instead, background options were semi-regular, so that adds a lot to character building, but that's only the start of it. When your stats are done, you then begin a conquest mode. This is centered around the actions you took and choices you made while invading the region. This can significantly alter the state of the world. Does a town remain free or controlled by allied forces? Different areas can open or be closed off. Quests ranging from minor squabbles to major plot threads can be affected too. If you are a huge prick in the invasion, the locals might not want to deal with you. On the other side, some of the Overlord's forces might respect you more for it. The effects of this carry throughout the entire game. It's a staggering amount of parameters to track. Of course, some choices will matter much more than others. Your choice of where to go in the conquest does get split up a few times, so you can keep your head down a little bit until the final decision. Eventually, you'll cast an edict on a region. This is Kairos' MWD packed in a convenient scroll. This means you'll be responsible for decimating an entire area. So I can say that compared to a lot of CRPGs purely on story reason, this game is highly replayable. Because sure, a lot of acknowledgement of what you did is just fluff. It's nice fluff to have, soft and comfortable, but there are major changes attached to it too. Keep in mind, we're literally just pre-gaming here. We haven't even started getting drunk on power. Let me set the stage for the first act. The conquest was won a year ago and now a rebellion has sparked up. Kairos is pissed that the garrison allowed this to happen at all. Kairos has sent you in to read another edict and the valley is sealed behind you. There's a catch to this one. If the Overlord's forces can't retake the local fortress spire within about a week, everyone will drop dead instantly. That's a hell of a motivator. Playing through the conquest, it's clear why the two armies don't work well together. The disfavored are a professional Iron Legion. They are led by Graven Ash, an Archon who tried to rebel against the Overlord a century ago. He lost, obviously, but in return for his surrender, all of his troops were spared. Now they're with the Overlord, and Graven Ash can mystically protect them. Their old insignia is crossed out, and their old name doesn't matter. They hit the Overlord so hard back then that they're still trying to make up for it. And boy, do they. The name of their game is brutality. They viciously slaughter their enemies. They only recruit from their homelands, so don't care about making nice with the locals. It's not random slaughter, they just have zero tolerance for rule breaking. They're all about honor and not committing atrocities besides death. We can put them under lawful evil on the alignment chart. They don't revel in brutality, they just use it as a means to end the problem as fast as possible. They're not a bad pick for dealing with rebels. Then you have the other army. The Scarlet Chorus is a mobile mosh pit of your most hated band's biggest fans. They're physically unable to stop recruiting even when it makes no strategic sense. They get these recruits by rolling up on a town and having family fun blood trials. So not only have members killed, they've likely killed friends or family members and can't really turn their back on that.
These
so they're
guys are
part of the mob
insane.
now, complete with constant infighting. They don't want any old serial assaulter. They want Olympic serial assaulters. They can act up in Kairos' lands, but during a conquest, anything is free game. How do you possibly control an army like that? By having their Archon be the voices of Narat, a telepathic, mind-devouring entity who we will never truly understand. He can see through or talk to or possibly possess members of his army. He's somehow keeping it coherent. And, like many Chorus instructors, is known to be a little too touchy with the kids. The Scarlet Chorus...
What? Excuse me? I saw the most depraved and disturbing desires I've had the misfortune of feeling. Oh god. Well, to lead an army like that, you probably have to be worse than they are for them to even remotely respect you, so I suppose that works out.
The Scarlet Chorus is a chaotic evil madhouse. These armies need to work together.
That is not going to work.
You can break these kinds of games down into two main parts. First, you have your general RPG stuff, talking to people, progressing, exploring the world, and then you have combat. You can have wonderful memories of that first part and horrible ones of the second. At least that's how I remember it. I'll start with that first part. Speaking generally, the writing is strong. I know what little marketing there was all about be the bad guy, but it is more nuanced than that. A lot of real-world evil isn't pure sadism. It's more, I want to accomplish this goal with zero consideration of others.
I do enjoy that it is more nuanced, and honestly, from the studio that made it, I wouldn't expect anything less. Because even in the dark side path of Knights of the Old Republic 2, there was still a lot more nuance given to the Force, and it gave me a whole new understanding of how Star Wars worked, in a way that the movies didn't really portray. Because my impression up until then was just, dark side equals bad guy, and I think unfortunately with what Disney has done, that's kind of been the case. But with the extended universe, whatever they call it, it was so much more nuanced with how there were some things that the light side didn't really get right, and there were some things that the dark side obviously didn't get right, but there were pros and cons to both.
A company doesn't use sweatshops and child labor because they like it. It's just cheaper and they don't give a shit about people. The second that automation would be more profitable, they'll move right over to it. Tyranny has an understanding of this. Kairos' empire isn't cartoonishly evil. The region you're invading, called the Tiers, was made up of multiple fighting city-states. Some were a matriarchy, some had no laws. It was a messy region. Kairos offers to unite the land. There are laws for gender equality. If you're a loyal citizen, you're guaranteed not to starve under Kairos. You have a right to live and a right to go to court over squabbles. Naturally, the wording of some of these laws don't bode well. Citizens only get these protections because they're useful to the state. That's why the Scarlet Chorus is allowed to go apeshit in war zones. If you're not part of the club, you have no rights. Playing the game, you'll see the idea of Kairos' peace brought up constantly, which again is a right to live while giving up truly living. So as a judge, you get a lot of interesting interactions around these laws. Your city-states fought constantly before, why go against our peace? Well yeah, we had skirmishes, but the Overlord's forces are slaughtering us like we've never seen before. So fuck you, weird foreigners. Do you go with the spirit or the letter of the law? What do you do when things become unclear? Laws on forbidden knowledge are tricky to enforce or even know if you're breaking. Besides, just because something's a law doesn't mean it's moral, and that comes up too. Here's a good example.
I can see this game really pushing you to your moral limit, really making you question what you believe in and what is right and wrong. So Mandalore's description of you playing as Judge Dredd is very accurate.
From time to time you need to return to Master Tunon in the court. One time he's in the middle of a case and lets you judge it in his stead. He wants to see how you do, and it's against a fellow Fatebinder. He saw 2 Chorus soldiers assaulting a woman, so he killed them. Unfortunately, she was a local, so she had no rights. From your travels, you know that not everyone supports the rebellion and just wants to live their life. But legally, everyone here is a combatant, and this Fatebinder is completely in the wrong. He should be declared guilty. Unless you lead him into saying that she was trying to join the chorus. She was bowing to the Overlord, so she should have had the protection. This is circumventing the law, and Tunon knows what you're doing. As the Archon of Justice, he's uncomfortable seeing laws bent or circumvented. The Overlord is perfect, so the law must be perfect too. There's just a big plan that we couldn't possibly see. There's a lot of adjudication interactions, and most of them are really interesting.
That is really cool, though. I'm very curious to see how all these themes are going to tie in, and with a satisfying conclusion here, which we hopefully get. But like, what is it that our character learns by the end of this journey?
By your actions and schmoozing around, you can build reputation with different factions. You earn wrath or favor, and what I like about this is it's how the faction sees you. You could cozy up to a faction when really you're just trying to find more evidence of their crimes for tune on. It explains why you're given some legal leniency with such huge circumstances. You have a lot of fun options. There are times when things can feel off or too cartoony, but these are in self-contained side stories without much consequence. That's all well and good, but let's factor in skills and progression mechanics. The way skills and leveling work in Tyranny is more similar to an Elder Scrolls game. Instead of waiting for level up, your skills increase as you use them. This is self-explanatory for something like a lot of the weapon skills, but things get strange. Some skills are shared across the party. Someone pushes something down, everyone gets athletics. You disarm a trap, another character gets their subterfuge increased. Each skill will need more skill XP each time to get higher. It's not a linear pattern, honestly I have no clue what it is. I didn't learn fractals playing D&D, I just rolled some dice. Eventually this leads to a proper level up. You put a point in a governing attribute and can pick out a new talent from a tree. This is fine, but the progression itself feels strange. For one, a magic character will level way faster than something like a melee build. Hit with big stick, stick number goes up is simple, but it means someone in your party will likely be lapping you. That sucks because Tyranny is a game with level scaling, including skill checks. With magic, you level the same skills like your weapon and defense, but also the element skill for the magic you're using, along with an additional skill for lore, which just governs all magic. Now is a good time to bring up lore. I thought pillars...
Well, in that instance, then you should optimally be playing as magic instead. That probably just has to do with a balancing issue. It's kind of inevitable that in any video game ever, there's going to be a most optimal path to playing things, but hopefully this game is flexible enough for you to kind of just roleplay as the thing that you want to and not suffer too much. I mean, that's kind of the point of a RPG. But yeah, I can understand that it's pretty difficult to get right.
Was light on support skills, but Tyranny is another level. Parry and dodge are just 2 more combat skills. Athletics is good for tests of strength or intimidating people. Subterfuge helps you sneak, disarm traps, and be generally clever and sly in conversations. It also helps find hidden items, so pretty good skill. It is a shared party one, so your character doesn't need to have it too high. Lore does just about everything you need. Lore helps decipher ancient runes and code, its knowledge of Kairos' law and local customs and the history of the world and everything. This is what lore
just get
is.
lore.
It's not always an I win button that pops up, but it pops up a lot. Apparently the final confrontation in the game, which I liked a lot and won't spoil, used to have a bunch of lore checks in it, so thankfully that was removed. Unfortunately, it still got around a lot, which is the nature of having a skill that's so broad. At one point, a decision was revealed where I went, oh shit, because it was going to be a rough choice. A lore check made it an inconsequential, oh, never mind. It really undercut itself. Well, what about combat? Lore?
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I guess lore became too all-encompassing. It was too broad of a skill. I wonder, like, if this is based directly off of D&D or like an edition of D&D, a spin-off of that. I'm not too familiar with all the tabletop games out there, so I wouldn't recognize it. But one would think that an ability like lore isn't too good, at least from just what I think it would be able to do, but I guess not.
Has you covered. Throughout the game you can buy or find magic sigils. You need lore to learn them, but once you do, you enter the world of spellcrafting. You have 11 schools of magic and god...
There are so many systems in this game. Like, we're past the halfway point of the video and we're still getting introduced to new ones. It's kind of insane. Because of this, I'm not surprised that there are things that are just imbalanced. I think there definitely had to be an aspect of not enough money, not enough time, and too many systems working at play here.
Knows how many enhancements for it. Magic in Tyranny is based all around reputation and language. We have an underlying words are power theme going on. In fact, having high reputation with a faction can give you new abilities. The same goes for your party members. How much they respect and or fear you leads to unlocking all kinds of cool combo abilities. It's a neat system, but has nothing on the depth of spellcrafting. You can change the stats and effects on almost anything you can imagine. Your only limits are the runes you know, and your lore skill. Isn't that kind of weird? There are 11 magic skills for each school, but only lore matters for spellcrafting. Maybe I just don't get magic. Again, it's a lot of fun to play with. I can blow up villagers with canonically gay fireballs. It's insanely powerful.
Excuse me? A sigil of pride magic. But yeah, just level up lore. There's really no reason to level up anything else. Lore is just way too useful.
Gay fireballs. It's insanely powerful, but based off only a single skill. When traveling around, you'll occasionally get a random encounter, which is kind of like Oregon Trail, complete with dysentery sometimes. These frequently have a lot more skill choices than the rest of the game, but these aren't much of consequence and are still pretty limited. I think this game needed one of two things. Either take notes from Age of Decadence and have way more skills related to talking, or go all in on the Reputation idea, a brand new system where your powers come from your actions, much like the Archons in the lore. It's
That
not a
could be
terrible
really cool.
system, just easy to break and feels way too simple for the material.
Let the blood rain from the sky!
As for the combat itself, it's pretty fun. Mechanically, I don't have too much to complain about. It's real time with pause, though it does have enough pause options to make it spiritually a turn-based game. You click to attack and you can cycle through that or throw out some abilities. By shift-clicking you can queue up attacks. However, no matter your build, you'll likely end up with a lot of abilities. I'm talking mid-2000s MMO amount of abilities. I'm not saying it desperately needed macros or anything, but they would have been welcome. The party settings are basic, but they take care of themselves fine. You get used to clicking on people's feet for the hitbox, no problem. My main two issues are outside of the fights themselves. For one, you'll mainly be fighting other humans. The different factions do have different styles of fighting, but it does get repetitive. They took a low fantasy approach here, so there are no undead or goblins or creatures.
That's unfortunate that we lack variety in our enemies. But considering the setting, I wonder what you could get away with and how to kind of circumvent that issue. Or maybe, once again, I'm just waiting for Mandalore to spill the beans that this game was underfunded and it was rushed out the gate.
Or anything like that. I agree that being heavy-handed with that wouldn't be that fitting for the setting. So the game has only two exceptions. One is a race of werewolf-like feral beast people. You might not actually fight any depending on your playthrough because there are so few of them. The second are the Bane. You will be fighting lots and lots of Bane.
Send them at me in waves!
No, dear God, please no more. Bane are just colorful, glowing wisp creatures. They're like fighting slimes in a JRPG. You don't get that combat impact seeing them fight because they're just glowing dust bunnies. And you mainly fight them while dungeon crawling, which it seems like the game could have gone without this kind of thing. They just keep spawning out their little windows. Every dungeon boss fight is a big Bane that spawns more Bane. They seem out of place for the setting and also a waste. There were only two fantasy races, I guess, and this is one of them. It's generic, but I'd take undead over this any day. They're both boring to fight, and there's a lot of them. Not a fan. The second is more of a missed opportunity. I would have liked a few one-sided encounters where you're basically committing war crimes. Most rebels you fight are well armed and ready to die. If you could attack civilians, that would probably make more of an impact.
Ooh. I thought that we would have moments like that in this game, where you're seriously questioning the things that you're doing, or maybe enjoying it. Especially considering how the writing is going and how I think the narrative would flow. That would be perfect. A part of me wonders if there was an idea like that, but they decided against it because of any potential backlash that they might get from such a decision. Although, I don't think Obsidian is scared of putting in dark stuff in their video games. There is some pretty messed up stuff that you see in Fallout New Vegas. The game's premise itself lends to that, so yeah, I don't know. It's just a strange decision. Or maybe more just a missed opportunity.
There could be interesting genre twists in there. And they do kind of have this already where you can kill a bunch of beastmen cubs. But speaking honestly, stomping on a furry village won't make my heart rate go above resting. I slaughtered them like animals. Sort of related, but I think there should have been more opportunities to use power. As in, guards, seize him. Fairly early on you get a base for your party. There are a few of these spires around the world and they can be upgraded in different ways. You can make new items, research, train, trade, there's a lot to do. What I thought would happen is that people would come to you to mediate their problems. It's established as something you do as a fate binder. Not only that, but Pillars of Eternity had housing that had you do exactly that. Complete with looking bored on the throne. There is a likely reason for this. Tyranny is blatantly unfinished.
Thank you. There you go. There were so many signs that there was just things that weren't working out that they could have probably done better if just given more time and funding. Now it all makes sense. It all just clicks. But it's so unfortunate because the premise of the game is super unique. I really enjoy it. And the world itself might not be very impressive right now, but it has potential. The combat could be a little cleaner, the artwork could be better for the profile pictures of each character. In an alternate reality where this game got the funding and the time that it needed, this game could have been an absolute banger. Like an instant classic for RPG games. Or maybe even with all of its flaws currently, people would still consider it to be that.
You might not have all the spires before the game is basically over. It's still a 20-hour game, which is pretty long, but short for the genre, I guess. A little longer with the DLC, which I'll talk about briefly soon, because it does feel weird not to elaborate in detail for a game like this, but I'll be talking about the story in broad strokes.
When due process fails us, we really do live in a world of terror.
As I said before, I like the nuance.
Was that Deus Ex, I think? I've been meaning to get around to watching a review on that because it's a game that is so legendary, gets referenced so much. It's a kind of a shame that I don't understand any of the references.
The disfavored are brutal, but still very human. Some chorus members join to survive and are desperate to escape. There's never a heavy-handed right answer to how things should be. Kairos is fascinating, though you never meet the Overlord. Where the game seemed to be going with that was really interesting. Kairos is so intangible that no one really knows their gender. Higher-ups say she's a woman, but they're not consistent on that. Kairos is Kairos. I'm gonna give you a crash course on some basic political science ideas. And only in the negative connotation. I don't want to get into like societal cohesion or shit like that. The concept is called Faces of Power. I'll give you an example of each. We'll use Tunon and villagers. The villagers are working. Tunon comes along and says, hey, don't grow carrots. If you do, you'll be in legal trouble or you'll get hurt or killed. This is the power of the outcome. Do this or else is blatantly flexing. Everyone knows what's happening, so let's try to be more subtle. Villagers are working again. Along comes Tunon. This time he says, you can grow melons or potatoes. They now have a choice presented they can decide on. Some villagers might really hate melons, so they go all in on potatoes. This is the power of agenda. Tunon isn't even going to bring up carrots and instead give people two options. Anyone who wants carrots is now a fringe weirdo. Most people are thinking about the choices presented. Let's move on to the third face of power. Tunon has influence over media and public education. He won't bother going to the farm. Villagers learn a lot about other crops from their media. Tunon might even slip in some disinformation about carrots in there. Without direct intervention, no one is growing carrots. This is the power of ideology and subconscious, which is absurdly powerful. Your very inner desires are manipulated. Those are the big accepted three, but there is some debate on a fourth one. It's almost too big to tackle. Tunon and the villagers both agree that a carrot is a vegetable. You can buy carrots in markets and you eat them. This is the power of paradigm. Neither of them can directly control this, it controls them. It's a basic idea that everyone agrees with and has no real need to challenge because it's just how it is. Kairos has terrifying powers that they don't even show up for in person. You disobey them and suddenly the air is on fire. History is being rewritten. Kairos is becoming more and more of a recluse. This is the beginning of a 1984 level dystopia. Kairos is trying to ascend into being Big Brother, though this time there would be an actual person at the head of it. Kairos would be a paradigm by essentially being God. Nothing can be named after the Overlord. The Overlord made entire species disappear. Good luck fighting that.
What the... What? I thought this was supposed to be a game where we played as the bad guys. Now I feel like I'm learning about the Marvel cosmology all over again. The level of control over reality itself, essentially, is downright terrifying. Like, more terrifying than an actual show of force or forbidding people to do things. Things just are as they are in the way that Kairos deems it to be. How do you even fight against something like that? I guess you don't. And that's why we lose. Or, well, the good guys lose.
The implications of what's happening are being touched on, and it looks like the game is really going to dive deep into it. Then it turns into a chosen one plotline in all but name. You get...
God damn it. The beta, the Switch, which was probably a decision based off of, oh, we can't finish this, so we have to wrap it up somehow.
Railroaded into challenging the Overlord. It makes sense for the Rebel or Anarchist playthroughs that you can do, but if you want to play a Loyalist, it's out of nowhere. A later patch made it so at the very last second you could scream, I love the Overlord into a megaphone, even when all the dialogue up to that point goes completely against it. It is blatantly not done.
What the?
It's their best attempt at bridging a clearly bigger story. Did the DLC at least save it?
Oh, man.
Well, not really. Tales from the Tears adds a bunch of these new travel encounters, new items, a character respec option, and New Game Plus. It's the kind of thing a more generous publisher might have put out for free and is hugely overpriced at $7. But it does help the game. Bastard's Wound adds a large new area. There are some fun quests and interesting decisions to make, but the main quest has some convoluted bullshit in it. When I found out what I could do on replay, I was irritated. It also adds some good companion quests, which were strangely absent from the main game. Again, it seems like them trying to restore cut content, which again is nice, but at $15 is hugely overpriced once again. Some of the new quests bugged out, and it seemed like my game became more prone to crashing. And that was all the DLC for Tyranny. I've harped on its...
I feel like it's because they're trying to slap on things as much as they can, but ultimately they just don't have the resources to make sure that everything is working, so... Dang it, dude. This is such a cool premise. It's such a cool game. If only they had more time. Like, the Marvel lore has the benefit of having so many people working on it with so much history to it that, yeah, they get to go into these deeper themes and for all of it to be cohesive and make some sort of sense. Where here, we were trying to go for that, but yeah, It might have bit off a bit more than we could chew. That, or you never know, it might be some behind the scenes stuff and some publishers pulling out or something like that.
Flaws a lot, but I liked playing this game and replaying it. The short length makes that easy to do, and it might not be a bad choice for someone's first CRPG. There's a lot of stuff I think veterans will find interesting, but you'll probably be left wanting more like me. Pillars of Eternity had fun companions and a lot more content per dollar, but I couldn't tell you what the final villain wanted or what he was even named. Tyranny is short, but I found it incredibly memorable. Tyranny has an intriguing setting with good writing and characters, but is also buggy, has some weird direction, and is blatantly unfinished. It might be an Obsidian classic. Every edition, DLC or no...
I didn't want to call it like that, but yeah, I did say earlier, that's kind of just the pattern that it has been with Obsidian. They just don't get the opportunity to finish these games, which is a damn shame because they are so good at what they do. Although, doesn't Obsidian make Outer Worlds, was it called? I know that there's like modern RPGs that they make, which I've heard were also pretty good, and hopefully those are finished. If any of you guys know of them, let me know. Game good or not good, or is older Obsidian better? I feel like it's a common trend in the modern gaming industry.
Will be 75% off in the pinned link. For future viewers, do not get the DLC at full price. That's it for Tyranny. More CRPGs to come.
I feel that. So, okay, this one was made before the Pathfinder video.
I didn't really want to, I just violently tripped into it. I didn't think this would be such a regular big part of my life. I enjoy it though. Got the VAT.
Actually, was that the case? Did Mandalore just like upload a few videos and thought that it was a fun thing to do, and then all of a sudden this happened? Which honestly, for a lot of YouTubers, that's kind of the case. Sometimes the almighty algorithm giveth and taketh. It really depends.
In my state, I'm not even on the list for that yet. I won't have the option for that for many, many moons, so looks like I'm still inside. If anything, I'm grateful that I can be inside. What are your thoughts on Stronghold Warlords? It seems to have split the community. I haven't played that one yet, but I do want to. I like 2, okay, but I always had the feeling that they should go back and make another 2D Stronghold. For some reason, seeing like 3D Stronghold gameplay now activates the mobile game part of my brain, which isn't their fault. I think I just liked how crisp the sprite work is and how well it held up, because 3D stuff like the early ones, they do not age well.
Yeah.
Are you planning to do a Planescape Torment video? Yes, but that one is also a ways off and will not be the next CRPG. I want to cover it though. Okay, stay safe out there.
Why do we stay here when all we experience is pain? Why are we here? Just to suffer. Obsidian was ahead of the times. Considering that this was about 20 hours of gameplay, whereas most other CRPGs are around like 100, or maybe even more than that, there must have been a heck of a lot of content that we were unable to get to, which is a damn shame. I'd love to know if there are more games out there where you're primarily playing as the bad guy within the lore. I find those sort of things fascinating. Either, you know, you can either be the comically bad guy or the more nuanced and exploration of what is good and what is bad and perspective and all that. If there are any other games that Mandalore reviewed in that sort of vein, let me know and I'll check them out at some point. As a mad scientist VTuber, I try to be evil sometimes, but it doesn't really work out very well for me. I'm still not very good at it, so I have to learn from the experts out there. But yeah, dudes, that's gonna be it from me today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.